The LIV Golf Invitational has been announced.
Yes.
So it's finally, been all this talk. We touched on it a couple of episodes ago about this whole kind of Saudi Golf League, the SGL, and Greg Norman was the CEO and he was fronting it and what this meant for golf. There was, at the time, I think every golfer in the top 50 had been approached with lucrative deals to sign. Yeah, and a lot of them had ended up pledging their alliance to the PGA Tour. So it felt like from the outset that this kind of SGL was dead and buried. And last week, I think it was announced by Greg Norman that LIV Golf Invitational, as it will be known going forward, so it's not SGL, that was just kind of a placeholder name that people put on it. LIV Golf Invitational is coming to life. Going to be 8 events, I believe, with the first one at Centurion in June.
I've got the list here in front of me.
Talk me through it.
So, I mean, still very much, I've just looked at even online now, and it's still very much being kind of branded as this kind of Saudi-backed golf super league. Obviously, that's kind of where the main money's coming from. And Greg Norman's kind of the pin-up boy for it, doing a lot of the talking. So, June 9 to 11th, location London, Centurion Golf Club.
Yes.
Now, that kind of makes sense because they've hosted like the Aramco series there before, etc., etc. So that kind of probably makes sense why it's happening there. A couple of weeks, or just under a month later, from July the 1st to the 3rd, it's actually my birthday, in Portland, Pumpkin Ridge Golf Club.
Yeah.
Never heard of it?
I heard of it.
Have you?
Yeah.
End of July, 29th to 21st, New Jersey, Trump National Golf Club. That'd be interesting to see how that kind of goes down. September 2nd to the 4th, Boston, the International. middle of September in Chicago at Rich Harvest Farms. Rich Harvest Farms, quite a fitting name for this Super League. October 7 to 9, Bangkok at Stonehill. And then finishing, as you kind of probably would imagine, in Saudi Arabia, Jeddah at Royal Greens Golf Club. And then the team championship. I don't think the location's been set for that yet, which is a couple of weeks later.
Well, there's been actually, Greg Norman has been on a couple of podcasts himself. He was on the Bunkered podcast, and shout out to them guys, did an amazing job interviewing him. And he gave a lot more clarity on this. So part of it excites me, and part of it has left me not as excited. So the format, I believe, is going to be 54 hole events with no cut.
Yes.
Obviously, there's this team element going still. But originally, when this got rumoured about, it was this team element, certainly with the Premier Golf League that we talked about a couple of years ago, it was that you would have the same teams week in, week out.
Almost like a franchise.
Like the F1. So you'd almost have a constructors and individuals.
Yeah.
But now, Greg Norman has positioned it that this isn't a competition to the PGA Tour and the DP World Tour, that players can dip in and out. So I'm not quite sure then how the team one works. Let's just say... Adam Scott, first person I think of, he decides to play 1 week and then doesn't. Yeah. How does he then fit into the team? I'm not sure.
Well, from what I understand, a lot of these dates that I've just mentioned then are very cleverly squeezed in between big tournaments on both tours.
So what he has said, again, this is all from other podcasts I listen to, that he doesn't want to go against majors. He would never go against the huge team events, i.e. your Ryder Cups, your President Cups. And he also doesn't want to go against what he calls heritage events, so like your players, your serious PGA Tour events. But naturally, some of these are up against, I think one's the Canadian Open and other PGA Tour events, like Denmark and other stuff, sorry, European Tour events. So it will naturally, I think that there's 45 or 47 PGA Tour events a year, so naturally it's going to go up against.
Of course it has to, because there's one every week.
Yeah, exactly. And he's very confident that the PGA Tour cannot ban their players because they're independent contractors. So I'm excited to see what it comes out like, I am. But I'm also a little bit dubious in some regards because most of these big names have come out and said, we are not playing.
Yeah.
So Rory's come out and said that. Dustin's come out and said that now. I think we could even say Bryson said that. A lot of them have said they're not going to play. So,
but are they not? But this is almost like changed again.
Well, it has, but think how strong they've been again. So you might, apparently, because it's an invitational, he sent out invites like 250 golfers or something and he's waiting to hear back. Apparently, a lot of the big names have got back in touch. He claims, I don't know. But he's also quite adamant this is here to stay. This isn't just a 1 year thing. So he's saying, let's just say a guy who is 150th in the world wins one and wins like $2 million, whatever, it's incredible prize money, that it won't take long before the top players in the world start saying, well, that guy is nowhere near as good as me. I've won 700 grand last week and this guy's won 2 million. I want a bit of that. But we've chatted about this before off it makes you wonder about how much these top tour pros are bothered about money. Like, yes, it's important, But when you're growing up playing golf to be the best at your golf club, to get in the Lancashire team, the county team, whatever it might be, to win the club championship, you don't do it to win 50 quid in your account and buy some Pro V1s, do you? You win it for that pride. And I think even at this top level, money's brilliant. But like Rory said, he's got enough money. He only stays in 3 of his rooms in his house. It's probably at 20. So do you think it's enough? Is it the lifestyle, less holes?
The only way I can see this being, let's say the Saudi Invitational that happens every year anyway. Think about the players that went for that just for the money.
Yeah.
Because that's what they went for, really. Bryson Brooks, Patrick Reed, even Tony Finau more recently. They aren't really going to play in that event unless it's for money. So I do still think it plays a huge part. It's like, let's say on the table, as long as it's not interfering with any of your majors or your big events, if someone said, right, Rick, you can play in this event, which is Canadian Open, whatever it may be, and the purse for that is X amount, but there's 120 players in it, okay? So the chance of you winning that is fairly slim. Yeah. Isn't it, really? Let's be honest. Of course. On the other hand, you can fly over to Centurion in London. You're only going to go against 48 golfers, so less than half the field, and the money is like 3 times more.
You're going to be tempted, aren't you?
You have to be. From any of these top players in the world, it's more like it's a business decision. Now, when it was more you tie into the league and it's very big payout, that's a different conversation because you're completely cutting yourself off from the other side of things if you decide to go down that route. So this is a very interesting tactic that they've gone with because all before now there was no events, there was no tangible evidence.
It was almost an idea. It felt like an idea.
And to be honest, I would never have imagined an event being seen this year. As much as they'd said it, I was like, you can't just pull out events from mid-air. Boom. They've pulled out events from mid-air somehow.
Exactly. And I don't know if I just said this or not, but what he's also said is that even if this year, let's say the first event, you get the best ranked guy, let's just say, is 150th in the world, and the rest are kind of almost, I don't say nobodies, that's very disrespectful, but, for the sake of this, nobodies. That's fine with them. It's the first year. He keeps calling it a startup. It's a beta test year that it will carry on, and they're confident that eventually the big guys will come over. But
it's a startup with how many hundreds of billions?
Yeah, I mean it's interesting. I think as a golfer, as a kind of golf fan, I'm definitely interested to see what this first event is like.
This feels more like a WGC now. Than it does a separate league, breakaway league.
Well, they asked him in the podcast again about will it obviously be televised, and he said, yes, it will. I think he said he was in talks with 11 broadcasters who they've signed NDAs with. So I'm thinking, obviously, your Skies, I won't be surprised if it's like your Amazons,
let me just,
Netflix.
Let me just check my emails, just in case they want to host it on the Rick Shiels Golf channel. Listen, if it's going to be hosted on the channel, let's have a talk.
But that's so it's very interesting to see where this goes. You're right. Money does play a big part in golf, but I do also think the best players want to play against the best players, and it's a little bit like, and again, no disrespect, but with some of the majors when Tiger didn't play, you almost felt like, did it have an asterisk next to when somebody won a major without Tiger? Not really, but yeah. But if you're winning that event, yes, you've won loads of money, but if you're not playing against the best, as a competitor, apparently as well, they're going to get world ranking points through the Asian Tour who sanction it. So there's a lot to take in. Again, there's some great podcasts out there that interview him.
But I still think it's such a different plan to what it was like even 2 months ago.
Well, he was very adamant it's not a breakaway league, but it felt like to me, and I know nothing, but it felt like it initially was very much a breakaway league.
Of course it was, yeah. And now it's almost like they're almost like exhibition matches.
Well, that's it, really, isn't it? And actually, one of the things I'm kind of in some ways I'm very much for this 54 holes and shotgun start because it means it's so much easier to consume as a fan. You can sit down with a 4-hour window,
and it's still going to be shotgun start.
Apparently so. But one of the things that Nick Faldo did a very interesting video. We did like an 8-minute. I know you watched it as well, like an 8-minute Twitter video where he sat down and gave his opinion. It was really quite cool, and he was very much for the whole part of a cut and how at the players
who was it?
It was oh my god, John Rahm. John Rahm had a putt, I think, to make the cut, and he got it, and he fist pumped or whatever. And he was saying that even the world number one wants to make the cut, and that it's another kind of sub narrative to the story, which I suppose it is. If you're a hardcore viewer of golf, the cut line is another. Oh, you've got your favourite player, you've got money on somebody. The cut is another narrative. Without a cut, is it a bit Mickey Mouse? there's two ways of looking at it, I guess, isn't there? There's the one way that, you know, if you're going to watch that event and you're going on the, I don't know if it's
Saturday or
yeah,
Sunday.
whatever day it finishes on, you're going that day. Your favourite player will be playing. The other thing I thought of, though, was quite weird. This is something that's much further down the line. If it's a 54-hole event shotgun start, then obviously the winner will finish at the same time that last place finishes, for example. How would that be with things of grandstands? Because normally the 18th hole has the biggest grandstand or one of the biggest grandstands because that's where the winner will eventually win unless it goes to a playoff or whatever it might be. But what happens if the winner holds a putt and they finish on the 7th hole?
They're probably more likely to finish on the...
Do you think they'll still start them on one because they can?
Well, they're going to finish it. The winner's going to come either on 16th, 17th, 18th or...
Well, you'd think so. But
15th, 16th, 17th or 18th green, realistically.
Well, not a lot of golf courses that don't have great... I mean, if you think about, I know, at St Andrews, for example, the 16th green wouldn't really have a very good grandstand, would it? As far as I'm thinking. Would it?
No. Oh, 16 does.
Does
you
it?
You know what I'd like to see, weirdly, what would be really cool, is if it was almost like a 52-hole tournament and then the last 4 holes was like just the top 10 or whatever it may be.
But there will be a point, though, I imagine, where somebody will win on like hole 13 or whatever it might be, and there's not much of a... I don't know.
Yeah,
so it'll be interesting to see how that works out. But it's news. We've got to talk about it. It's exciting.
Yeah.
Who knows?
It's very... I mean, Faldo, like say, in his Twitter post, I don't think Faldo and Norman are particularly good friends.
Well,
that I know of. But like, it's very interesting hearing all these different sides, the pros, the cons, the back and forths, like where the money's coming from, who's kind of backing it, how are they going to make it happen if they've not got the best players in the world.
I think what was funny though as well is they asked him about the Saudi money and how he feels about that or whatever, and he kind of turned it around and said, well, you know, the European Tour have events in Saudi, and I looked at this thing online as well, because obviously Newcastle United have been bought by Saudis and stuff. There's a lot of businesses that are huge businesses that have obviously that Saudi investment and stuff, and it depends how you look at it.